Russia's latest test of the RS-28 Sarmat intercontinental ballistic missile is not only about military technology. It is about the future balance between nuclear deterrence, missile defense, and geopolitical leverage at a moment when the last major nuclear arms limits between Moscow and Washington have already expired. President Vladimir Putin says the Sarmat can travel more than 35,000 kilometers using suborbital trajectories and carry warheads with a combined yield far beyond Western equivalents. Whether every technical claim proves accurate or not, the strategic message is clear. Russia wants the United States and NATO to believe that no future missile shield can reliably stop its nuclear arsenal. What happens next could shape military spending, alliance structures, and nuclear doctrine for decades. The Sarmat missile emerged from a long modernization process that began after the collapse of the Soviet Union. Since coming to power in 2000, Putin has overseen a broad restructuring of Russia's nuclear triad, which includes land-based intercontinental ballistic missiles, nuclear submarines, and long-range strategic bombers. Many Soviet systems were aging by the early 2000s, while the United States was investing heavily in precision strike capabilities and missile defense systems. Russian military planners feared that if Washington developed a sufficiently advanced missile shield, it could eventually undermine the logic of mutual deterrence that had defined nuclear stability during the Cold War. That concern intensified after the United States withdrew in 2001 from the Anti-Ballistic Missile Treaty, a Cold War agreement originally signed by Washington and Moscow in 1972. The treaty had limited missile defense deployments because both sides believed unconstrained defensive systems could destabilize deterrence by encouraging one side to consider a first strike. Russian officials argued that future American missile defense networks in Europe, Alaska, and space could theoretically intercept surviving Russian missiles after an initial exchange. Moscow's response was to prioritize weapons specifically designed to penetrate or bypass missile defenses. The Sarmat became one of the most important outcomes of that strategy. Development reportedly began in 2011 to replace the Soviet-era R-36M2 Voyevoda missile, known in NATO terminology as Satan. The new missile weighs more than 208 tons and is launched from fortified underground silos. Russian officials say it combines the destructive power of the older Voyevoda system with greater precision and more advanced penetration capabilities. Putin stated that the missile can fly on both ballistic and suborbital trajectories, allowing attacks from unexpected directions and reducing warning times for defenders. Russian sources claim the Sarmat has an operational range exceeding 35,000 kilometers. That figure is far beyond the estimated 11,000-kilometer range of Russia's older Topol and Yars missiles, and significantly above the roughly 13,000-kilometer range generally associated with the American LGM-30G Minuteman III. Analysts believe part of the missile's effectiveness comes from its ability to deploy the Avangard hypersonic glide vehicle. Unlike traditional warheads following predictable ballistic paths, hypersonic glide vehicles maneuver at extremely high speeds inside the atmosphere, complicating interception efforts. The Avangard system traces its origins back to Soviet research during the 1980s, though development slowed after the Soviet collapse before accelerating again during the 2010s. Putin formally unveiled the program in 2018 alongside several other advanced strategic systems. Russian officials say Avangard can travel at speeds approaching Mach 27, while maneuvering unpredictably during flight. Western defense analysts remain cautious about some official performance claims, but there is broad agreement that hypersonic glide vehicles present major challenges for existing missile defense architectures. Russia's broader modernization effort now includes several additional systems. Moscow has already deployed the Oreshnik intermediate-range ballistic missile, which has a reported range of approximately 5,000 kilometers and has been used in conventional strikes against Ukraine. Russia is also continuing work on the Poseidon underwater nuclear drone, designed to detonate near coastlines, and the Burevestnik nuclear-powered cruise missile, intended to remain airborne for extremely long durations before approaching targets from unexpected directions. Together, these projects reflect Moscow's effort to ensure survivable second strike capabilities against future missile defenses. The timing of the latest Sarmat test is politically important. It came shortly after Putin suggested that the war in Ukraine may be approaching its conclusion, and only days after Russia's Victory Day military parade in Moscow. That parade notably lacked many heavy weapons systems traditionally displayed on Red Square, partly because of equipment demands linked to the Ukraine conflict. By emphasizing strategic nuclear modernization instead, the Kremlin signaled that despite battlefield costs and sanctions pressure, Russia still considers itself a leading military power capable of competing directly with the United States. The nuclear arms control environment has also changed significantly. The last remaining major nuclear treaty between Russia and the United States expired earlier this year, leaving no formal caps on the world's two largest nuclear arsenals for the first time in decades. During the Cold War and post-Cold War periods, treaties helped regulate warhead numbers, delivery systems, and verification mechanisms. Without those limits, both countries now have greater freedom to expand or modernize strategic forces according to their own threat assessments. One possible outcome is a renewed technological arms race centered on missile defense and hypersonic systems. The United States is already investing heavily in next-generation interception systems through programs such as the Golden Dome Initiative. Some concepts involve space-based interceptors designed to destroy missiles during the early phase of flight before hypersonic glide vehicles separate. However, many scientists and defense specialists question whether such systems can operate reliably against sophisticated countermeasures without enormous financial costs. Another scenario involves selective negotiations rather than unrestricted escalation. Washington and Moscow still possess strong incentives to avoid uncontrolled nuclear competition, because maintaining strategic arsenals is extremely expensive. China's rapid nuclear modernization adds another factor. Beijing is expanding its missile forces while developing its own advanced hypersonic systems, including the DF-41 and related glide vehicle technologies. As a result, future arms control talks may eventually involve three major nuclear powers, rather than two. The geopolitical implications extend beyond Russia and the United States. European NATO members are reassessing missile defense requirements and long-term deterrence planning as the Ukraine war continues to reshape continental security. Countries such as Poland, Germany, and the United Kingdom are increasing defense spending, while American allies in Asia are also watching closely, because advances in Russian and Chinese missile technologies influence military planning across the Pacific. At its core, the Sarmat program reflects a broader transformation in strategic competition. Nuclear deterrence is no longer defined only by warhead numbers. It now depends on survivability, maneuverability, space systems, artificial intelligence, missile interception networks, and the credibility of second strike capabilities.